Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. Just imagine the sheer terror of facing an ancient chariot on the battlefield. I mean, these were basically the tanks of the ancient world. They could smash right through infantry lines at 20 miles an hour. The thundering of hooves, the ground literally shaking beneath your feet, the flash of iron. This was the absolute pinnacle of military tech in the ancient Near East. So to stand right in front of that kind of overwhelming physical power and boldly declare that your confidence lies entirely somewhere else, that is a massive statement. It's an incredibly high-stakes gamble between relying on tangible physical power versus an unseen spiritual reliance.
Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's dive right into this and trace the anatomy of Psalm 20. Going all the way from petition to confidence.
Today, we're dissecting an absolute ancient masterpiece. We're going to break down this historic text line by line to see how it masterfully journeys from a place of deep, shared anxiety into a state of just unshakable confidence. Honestly, it's not just a religious text. It's a brilliant piece of psychological and literary architecture. To really ground us, we'll be looking at the English Standard Version of the text. Right at the top, even before the poetry kicks in, we get this crucial historical context. To the Choi Master, a Psalm of David. This quick intro tells us two really important things. First, this was written by or for David, Israel's legendary warrior king. Second, it's addressed to the Choi Master, which means this wasn't just some private journal entry. No, this was meant to be sung aloud, together, as an entire community. It's basically a national anthem being sung by a people right on the eve of a massive conflict.
Right out of the gate, the text hits us with this intense collective anxiety. May the Lord answer you in the day of trouble. Notice that pronoun right there, you. The community is speaking directly to their leader, their king, as he literally gears up for battle. And they're facing a day of trouble. Now, this isn't just a minor inconvenience, right? In the ancient world, this implies an existential threat to the whole nation. So they call upon the God of Jacob, invoking centuries of deep historical memory and covenant, essentially asking for a shield of protection over their monarch.
And this brilliantly illustrates the escalating nature of their plea. It's a highly structured, super strategic sequence of requests the community is making to God on behalf of their king. It starts simple. They ask for a basic answer and protection. But then they ask for spatial, physical reinforcement, help sent from the sanctuary, support pouring out of Zion, their capital city. Next, they bring in their religious rituals, asking God to remember their offerings and burnt sacrifices. And finally, they ask for total victory, the granting of the king's heart's desire and the complete fulfillment of his battle plans. It's pretty much a comprehensive checklist for divine intervention.
Now, as we hit verse 5, the tension really shifts from anxious pleading to this bold anticipation. The community says, "May we shout for joy over your salvation, and in the name of our God set up our banners." Think about that. Setting up military banners isn't exactly something you do while hiding in fear, is it? It's the physical, declarative act of claiming territory and celebrating a win. Talk about confidence. The battle hasn't even happened yet, but the community is already visualizing the victory. They're wrapping up this first section of the poem by essentially saying, "Hey, may God give you everything you just asked for so we can finally raise our flags in triumph."
Let's move along and see how this builds. Because right here, the entire foundation of the text shifts. 3 simple words. Now I know. Just let that hang in the air for a second. We've spent 5 whole verses listening to a nervous community saying, may he do this and may he do that. It was all petition. It was all hope. But with these 3 words, the poem slams on the brakes and pivots completely. We're moving from hope straight into absolute certainty. Now, what's really interesting here is the dramatic shift in perspective and grammar. We jump from a plural, communal we, straight to a singular, definitive I. All of a sudden, a single voice, maybe the king himself, or a prophet, or a lead priest, steps right out of the choir to make a bold declaration. And the verbs change completely too. It's no longer may he answer, but he will answer. It's no longer a hopeful request for salvation, it's a cold, hard statement of fact, the Lord saves his anointed. The psychological transformation is just complete. Any lingering doubt has been entirely burned away, replaced by this unshakable confidence.
And to really understand why that confidence is so strong, just look at how the poem's geography has expanded. Earlier on, the community was entirely focused on earthly preparations. They were looking at the sanctuary, at Mount Zion, at the physical smoke rising from their burnt sacrifices. Very tangible, local things. But that single voice in verse 6, it looks up. The response isn't just coming from a building in Jerusalem anymore, it's coming from holy heaven. The support isn't just human troops, it is the saving might of his right hand. The poem takes this earthly, immediate crisis and dramatically elevates it to a cosmic scale.
So, the crucial point is right here in verses 7 and 8. This is the central thesis of the entire psalm, laying out the ultimate contrast in worldview. On one side, we have the enemy's strategy, putting all their trust in the pinnacle of human engineering and brute strength, chariots and horses. But the result of that misplaced trust? The text explicitly says they collapse and fall. Then on the flip side, we have the community strategy, trusting in the invisible spiritual reality of the name of the Lord. And their result? We rise and stand upright. It's a total reversal of expectations, right? The heavily armed, technologically advanced force ends up face down in the dirt, while the spiritually reliant force remains standing tall.
Finally, verse 9 brings our literary journey full circle. O Lord, save the King. May he answer us when we call. We're back to the communal us. We're back to focusing on the King. It acts as this absolutely perfect bookend to the opening lines of the poem. But here's the catch. While the words are very similar to the beginning, the tone has fundamentally changed. Because of that middle section, because of the now I know and that profound realization of where true power actually lies, this final call isn't an act of desperation anymore. It's an act of settled faith. The community is unified once again, completely ready to face whatever comes next.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway from this ancient text. The real genius of Psalm 20 is that, sure, while it was written for an ancient king facing a literal battlefield, the psychology of it applies universally. We all face our own day of trouble. We all hit those moments where we feel completely overwhelmed by the odds. And let's be honest, we're all tempted to rely on our modern equivalents of chariots and horses, whether that's our bank accounts, our status, or just our own sheer willpower. So it leaves us with a pretty provocative thought. When the ground starts shaking and your own day of trouble arrives, where are you actually placing your trust?